Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha and it is so good to see all of you lovely people once again. In case you're new here, welcome. You've just tuned into that one show which satisfies your hunger for both technology as well as automobiles at one place. So without any further ado, let's kick off the action by first showing you a glimpse of what you can expect over the course of the next half an hour. This week, we take you for a drive in the facelifted version of the Skoda Kodiaq, finding out whether this is a luxury SUV that you should buy. That's not it. We also tell you our review of the Xiaomi 11I Hypercharge, which is one of the fastest charging phones you can buy in the world. And we'll also tell you our review of a tablet from the house of Nokia. So there you have it. All of that action will be coming your way, but we're going to start off with SUVs. Now that is something that us Indians love a lot, and Skoda has come out with their flagship SUV in the Indian market in the form of the Kodiaq facelift for the year 2022. Abhinav got his hands on the car and here's what he has to say about it.
Imagine this, you've got a family and a large one at that, and you want to ferry them around in absolute comfort. Or maybe you just want to help a couple of friends out whenever they feel the need to move stuff around. But most importantly, you want one car that can do it all. One car for all your needs, both in the city and outside of it. So what do? Well, you draw up a list of 7-seat SUVs and you put this on it. Say hello everyone to the latest iteration of the Skoda Kodiaq. Now it's come back to India after a gap of almost 2 years, and the good news is it still looks absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm sure the eagle-eyed amongst you must have already noticed all the differences up here in the front, but let me run you through them anyway, just for good measure of course. At the front, the Kodiaq now gets sleeker LED projector headlamps along with an updated grille and bumper, with quite a bit of chrome if I might add. Around the side there is nothing to report except for the revised dual-tone alloy wheels. At the back, Skoda has fitted a revamped bumper and tail lamps, which incidentally get dynamic turn indicators now. Last but not least, the Skoda badge has now been replaced with lettering instead. Overall, the design remains classy and understated, just like before, which is definitely a good thing. However, I have to say, it doesn't quite have the typical SUV presence of a Fortuner or Gloster. Now the biggest change on the inside is this 2-spoke steering wheel, which we've seen on other Skoda products like the Kodiaq and the Octavia. And although it is quite functional to use, I have to say I've always been a fan of either 3 or 4-spoke steering wheels, but I'm just old-fashioned that way. Speaking of which, this 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system has been carried over from before, and it does look a little outdated and small, but it makes up for it by being extremely responsive. In fact, it even comes with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay along with connected tech features. But the biggest highlight for me has to be the ventilated and cooled seats and this 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster. I mean, it comes with 5 settings and it can be further customized to suit your needs. Quite handy. That's not all though. The Kodiaq gets a revised 12-speaker Canton sound system with a subwoofer, powered front seats and connected car tech. Not to mention the extremely large panoramic sunroof, tri-zone climate control and a powered tailgate. There are even a number of simply clever features, as Skoda likes to call it, like the umbrella in the door panel, dual glove boxes, a customizable storage space just ahead of the center armrest, and these thoughtful neck extensions, which can be quite useful if you want to have a nap without having a head move from one end to the other. Now, of course, there are rear AC vents here, but you do not get Type-C ports like you do up in the front. Also, this transmission tunnel can be quite intrusive for a person who's sitting in the middle. But if there isn't anyone sitting in the middle, you can always pop out the center armrest for added comfort. Also, there is ample knee room along with headroom, and overall, the second row seat is quite a comfortable place to be in the Kodiaq. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said about the third row of seats. It's hard enough to get into, and once you're there, you realize you can't slide the second row seat all the way back. Sure, the glass on the sides is quite large, but the seating space itself is best suited for just one adult or two small children, and that too for shorter drives. However, that compromised third row of seating does come with a silver lining in the form of the boot space. Now, with all the seats up, the space is quite decent for two bags, but with all the seats folded down, the space goes up to a massive 2005 liters, which is quite a serious amount for anyone. Now, Skoda has done away with the 2-litre TDI engine that the Kodiaq used to come with and equipped it with a 2-litre 4-cylinder TSI turbo petrol engine. Now that engine produces 190 HP and 320 Nm of torque and comes mated to the famed 7-speed DSG dual clutch automatic. Skoda haven't skipped on safety either. The Kodiaq comes with 9 airbags as standard and 11 braking and stability based systems. So how does it all tie in together? Rather well, if I can say so myself. Now do note that the Kodiaq is not a typical body-on-frame SUV like the Fortuner or Gloster. That means it feels a lot more planted on the straights and agile around the bends than the aforementioned SUVs. In fact, the top-end Kodiaq comes with dynamic chassis control, which basically allows the driver to adjust the firmness of the dampers based on the drive mode. It's obviously a driver-centric SUV, one that really isn't a corner carver but can hold its own pretty well. That 2-litre TSI engine, like we've mentioned before, is an absolute gem. It builds up power rather well, although it's the mid-range where it feels the strongest. Mashing the throttle to the floor won't really help, and a gradual build-up of speed is more suited to the Kodiaq's driving dynamics. Overall, a well-sorted, planted, and a rather fun SUV to drive. So the numbers first. Now it costs between rupees 34.99 and 37.49 lakh rupees ex-showroom. And as I mentioned before, that pits it against the MG Gloster and Toyota Fortuner. Sure, it doesn't get the driver aids that the Gloster does or have the off-road prowess and reliability that a Fortuner does. But the Kodiaq has a lot going for it as well. You have to ask yourself, what do I need from an SUV? For me personally, I want a mix of comfort and luxury, a punchy engine, and understated yet classy looks. And the Kodiaq delivers on all those fronts in spades.
Now let's move on to the world of technology and let's talk about smartphones. Now in today's day and age, the charging speed of a smartphone can perhaps be a very important factor, and turns out Xiaomi is planning to capitalize on that with the 11i Hypercharge with 120 watt of charging. But is there more to that phone than what meets the eye? Devashish Sarkar finds out.
Just think of this, your smartphone taking just 15 minutes of your time to get fully charged. Sounds crazy, right? Well, Xiaomi's new phone, the Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge, is all about that. It comes with a 120 watt massive fast charging technology, and with that, you can actually charge your phone in just 15 minutes. And not just that, Xiaomi is offering great performance, display and cameras as well. Take a quick look. Xiaomi has kickstarted 2022 with the launch of two smartphones, Xiaomi 11i and 11i Hypercharge. Both the phones cater to the Rs 25,000 to Rs 30,000 market segment, and the Hypercharge variant costs Rs 2,000 more. If you ask about the differences, well, on paper, the only difference is that the cheaper Xiaomi 11i comes with a bigger battery but with 67 watt fast charging, while the Hypercharge variant offers 120 watt fast charging. Apart from the battery and charging capacities, both the phones are exactly the same. Now talking about the design of this phone is pretty big. So if you have small hands, it will take some time to get used to the new form factor. Apart from that, the build quality is pretty sturdy and the phone looks good as well. And you get 4 color options. The Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge may feel a bit bulky as it weighs around 200 grams. Also, fitting this device inside tight trouser pockets requires some work as it's a large phone and pretty thick as well. The device comes with a glass rear panel while the frame is made of plastic. On the front, Xiaomi is offering Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection. The sides of this phone are flat, making it look a bit different. There is IP53 rating, making this phone splash proof, but note that it is not completely waterproof. The build quality is sturdy and the finish is quite premium. While the focus is mainly on the phone's battery capabilities, Xiaomi has managed to squeeze in an IR remote control and headphone jack. Also, there is a fingerprint scanner on the side of the phone. The phone comes in 4 colors: Camo Green, Pacific Pearl, Purple Mist and Stealth Black. Now talking about the display quality of this phone, Xiaomi has made no compromise whatsoever. So if you're looking for a phone in the under 30,000 rupees segment, this is the best you can get. The Xiaomi 11i 5G Hypercharge comes with a 6.6-inch Super AMOLED display panel with Full HD Plus resolution. The display offers 20:9 aspect ratio with up to 120Hz refresh rate and a pixel density of 395 pixels per inch. All these features make the display one of the best in this price range. The viewing angles are good and you won't face any issues when using the phone under direct sunlight. The color production is good and with support for 120Hz refresh rate, everything appears super smooth on this phone. Overall, you cannot really have any complaints about the display and you won't get a better display than this under Rs 30,000. Coming to the performance of this phone, the Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge is powered by a MediaTek Dimensity 925G chipset. Now this chipset from MediaTek is tried and tested and it's a delight to use this phone. There are 2 variants of this phone. You can buy this phone with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage, or you can opt for the 8GB of RAM and the same 128GB of internal storage. There is a microSD card slot and you can expand the storage. It's a dual SIM phone with support for 5G connectivity, so the moment India gets 5G, you can continue to use the Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge. Like with all Xiaomi phones, this one too runs MIUI interface. Xiaomi is offering MIUI version 12.5, which is based on the Android 11 operating system. The phone comes pre-installed with a lot of unnecessary apps, which thankfully Xiaomi lets you delete. Overall, the experience is quite smooth and there aren't any software issues as well. If you haven't used a Xiaomi phone before, then you will have to be a bit patient to get used to the interface. Now here's a piece of advice. If you're a heavy user, then opt for the 8GB RAM version, as MIUI interface tends to be quite resource intensive over time. This device will please you with its performance capabilities and there is nothing much to complain. Talking about the camera, this phone features a triple rear camera setup with a 108MP Samsung HM2 sensor with an aperture of f1.8. Secondary sensors include an 8MP ultra-wide angle sensor and a 2MP macro sensor. At the front, there is a 16MP selfie camera. For average users, the camera capability of this phone will easily please them. The colors are decent and overall the images look quite vibrant. The selfies look great as well for social media usage. But if you're into serious mobile photography, then you will soon realize that Xiaomi needs to work a bit more on the camera software. This is because images tend to look artificially edited sometimes due to that extra sharpness and oversaturation. On the other hand, there are times when the colors appear dull. This device supports 4K video recording and the headphone jack comes handy. If you're a content creator, then you can plug an external mic on this phone. Now talking about the biggest highlight of this phone's battery life and fast charging capacities. Now I'm talking of the new 120 watt fast charging technology. For Xiaomi, it's a big deal, but is it for you? Now talking about the biggest highlight of this phone, 120 watt fast charging. On paper you can charge the 4500 mAh battery of this phone in 15 minutes, but in reality it may take a little under 20 minutes. The good part is that you can be assured that you will have enough battery to last you the entire day by just charging it for around 15 minutes. Note that you will have to go inside the settings menu and enable boost charging mode to get 120 watt fast charging, else the phone will charge at 67 watts. Having said that, even with 67 watt fast charging, your phone will get charged in about 25 minutes. The battery life is pretty good, and for moderate users, the device can also last for up to 2 days in power saving mode. Like I already mentioned at the start of this video, the Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge is all about 120 watt fast charging and 15 minutes charging claims. If you're fine with your phone taking 25 minutes or even 30 minutes to get fully charged, then buying the Xiaomi 11i makes more sense, as it's exactly the same phone and costs Rs 2000 less. Now to sum up, the Xiaomi 11i series is a good phone to buy under Rs 30,000. Whether you want 120 watt fast charging or not, it's totally on you.
Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show, and I'm your host, Manav Sinha. Now, in the world of tablets, if you're looking to buy one, chances are that you're looking at very expensive, high-end flagship tablets. But what if you wanted one within a budget of, say, about 15,000 rupees? When Nokia has an offering for you, Abhik has put it to the test, and here's everything you need to know about it.
The tablet market largely remains dominated by Apple iPads, but we are seeing the entry of some good Android tablets for the last few years. Last year, we saw the launch of Nokia T20 that comes with a starting price tag of roughly Rs 15,000. Now, on paper, this tablet comes with loads of eye-catching features, but does it deliver what it exactly promises? Let's find out. At first glance, the Nokia T20 looks like a premium tablet. We get a metal finish and a 10.3-inch screen. At the back we have an 8-megapixel snapper, and the front has a 5-megapixel camera for selfies and video calling. For charging we get a USB Type-C port. I also like the placement of the 3.5mm audio jack. The power button sits at the top, but it doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. Speaking of the display, the roughly 10-inch screen has a 2K resolution and is protected by toughened glass, but there's a catch. The Nokia T20 only has Redefined L3 certification, meaning the video content on Netflix, Hotstar and Prime will only play at 480p resolution. So if you are purchasing the device for content consumption, this might not be your best companion. To be clear, the viewing experience as a whole isn't poor, as other apps do not need a Redefined DRM license. However, if you are purchasing this device to declutter your smartphone apps or reading, this tablet won't disappoint. Lastly, we only get a single blue color finish that does not look bad at all, but more color options are always better. Now, the Nokia T20 comes with a Unisoc chipset under the hood instead of the more popular Qualcomm or MediaTek chipsets. But the processor on this tablet manages to work fine without any heating issues. The tablet gets multiple storage options, and users can even choose between the LTE or Wi-Fi variants. For this review, we get the top-end model, which has 4GB RAM, 128GB storage, and LTE support.
But what I like about this tablet is that we get a clean Android software experience. There are preloaded apps that you can delete, but you are not bothered by spammy notifications and ads.
In terms of benchmark, the Nokia T20 scored 345 points on the single core test and roughly 1200 points during the multi-core test, which isn't entirely bad for the price.
But if we keep the numbers aside, the apps on the tablet run smoothly with minor stutters. Gaming experience is also decent, if not the best. When it comes to the battery, it's a mixed bag of feelings. We get an 8200 mAh unit that can easily last for days with standard usage. The Nokia T20 supports 15 watts charging, and we get a 10 watt adapter bundle in the box with a USB-A to USB-C cable inside the package. But charging is painfully slow, and it takes roughly 5 hours to fully charge with the bundled adapter.
As mentioned, there are a total of 2 cameras on board. The camera does come with filters and other modes, but there's a big problem. Both front and back cameras deliver a very poor performance. Most photos we click during the day or night are either hazy, lack color and clarity. Video calling experience is also fine, but don't expect anything spectacular. Despite poor camera performance and lack of L1 wideband certification, I'd still say that the Nokia T20 is a good tablet to recommend. And you may ask why. First of all, the price. It is one of the most affordable tablets in the market with a very robust build. Secondly, the movie viewing experience may not be as good, but it is still a good device for reading and to declutter your smartphone apps. Lastly, the Nokia T20 delivers good battery backup, it remains kids friendly, and even the elderly customers will find it easy to operate.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know by reaching out to us on our Twitter handles. If it's about technology, reach out to us at News18 Tech. If it's about automobiles, tweet out to us at News18 Auto. And remember, by logging on to news18.com, you can read up more on both these industries. That's about it for today. I'll catch you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.